start. But where there is difficulty in applying it to an individual holder or a cultivator, there it should not be hastened and its application should be delayed. This is my humble suggestion. Now, as far as the problem of agricultural production is concerned, India still needs vast irrigation facilities. India's agricultural population gets only 16 to 17% of irrigation. In some of the states which are industrially developed, like Bombay, we have got only 6% irrigation, and the target aimed at at the end of the second 5-year plan was only 8%. Such is our overall dependence of agricultural production on monsoon, and this clearly shows that agriculture is still a gamble in the hands of nature. When such is the case, when production is uncertain, how far is it desirable to apply the minimum wages act in agricultural sector, where the dependence on the monsoon is not relieved adequately and where irrigation facilities are not on an adequate scale? I leave the matter to the government to judge. When there is intensive cultivation, there the individual agriculturist is not required to adjust his relations with the laborer. The laborer comes only when the cultivator pays him more. There the natural law of demand and supply works. Para. In the application of this act to agriculture, the government has felt the difficulty. They could not implement that desire. They could not devise the machinery which could take up the work of applying the law to the agricultural labor. That difficulty will not in any way be lessened or mitigated even if the period is expanded up to December. So, my suggestion in this behalf is that serious thought should be given and the question should be examined thoroughly by weighing the pros and cons of the matter and seeing how Indian agriculture still depends upon the individual cultivators and how the individual cultivator will face the difficulty that will have to be realized. And if somebody wants to upset our economy and if somebody wants to drive the cultivators against their will to take the collectivization, then the matter is different. Even to this day, cooperative farming still remains a dream. The question whether an element of gentle compulsion can be introduced to organize the people compulsorily in cooperative farming is still to be faced in this country, and there is a divergence of opinion on this point because one of the members of our Chinese delegation is in favor of introducing cooperative farming by compulsion on China model. Even compulsory cooperative farming is not going to be a successful method of agriculture in this country, much less collectivization where individual ownership is lost. We are not certainly driving our cultivators to collective farming by force. Agriculturists under the cooperative farming by force has been unsuccessful in communist countries. There they have driven out the petty landlords or their land taken over much against their will or their desire to take the collective farming para. Mr. Deputy Chairman, sir, as the Honorable Minister has said, this is a very simple bill and the House should have no difficulty in passing it. I am inclined to agree with the urgency of the bill, but I have to bring on record that this bill has been instituted because of the non-implementation of the assurance given to the Rajya Sabha Select Committee as far back as 1963. Probably the minister is new to the ministry and he does not know the background, and therefore I am constrained to bring to his notice the facts as they stand. In 1963, the Lok Sabha appointed a committee of their own without associating Rajya Sabha to consider the amendments to the main act called the Major Port Trusts Act. When that select committee's report came to the House, we asserted our right and appointed a select committee of this House to go into the recommendations of the Lok Sabha. The select committee almost came to an unanimous decision that the Major Port Trusts Act should be applied to the ports of Calcutta, Bombay and Madras. He pleaded that a lot of things would be upset. Para. The Major Port Trusts Act, which control the major ports of India, would not be beneficial if it was delayed, and he said that he would look into the question of applying the Major Ports Act to the ports of Calcutta, Bombay and Madras as soon as possible. It is now 7 years since this assurance was given. Had this assurance been implemented, the occasion would not have arisen for the minister to bring forward this bill today. This bill is a simple one which is to enable the Calcutta Port Trust to take up work on the second bridge on the Hooghly. It is a laudable objective and therefore I am not opposing it. What I want to bring to the notice of the minister is that he must rescue from the cold storage of this ministry the assurance which was given to the Rajya Sabha and move in the matter of unifying the Major Port Trusts Act and bring the Bombay, Calcutta and Madras ports also within the jurisdiction of the Major Port Trusts Act. Para. The second point I would like to touch is about the large scale pilferage which goes on in the ports, and I would like to know what steps are being taken in this regard. As the Honorable Minister knows, I introduced a number of amending bills for all the ports and they have been awaiting the report of the Major Port Commission. I wish I had applied the same mind to these bills what he has done in the case of this bill. If he had done that, probably the bills which were introduced as far back as 1964 would have become law by now. But because they are non-official bills, the apathy of the government is there. I would like this to be stopped.